Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of Huffman Racing Radio. I'm your host, Landon Huffman, and sitting beside me is my co-host, Seth Brotherton. Seth, how we doing?
Doing real good.
Nice to have you sitting here today, sir. Today is the day after Labor Day. It is Tuesday. It's National Celebrate Tardiness Day.
Yes.
And RJ was late.
Be late for something.
Well, RJ was late and absent for the podcast, and we are not celebrating that.
No. It's also National Cheese Pizza Day.
I seen that one too, but that's kind of a lame one.
Yeah.
Pepperoni pizza is way better.
I did my due diligence, and I looked it up this morning so I wouldn't be caught off guard when you told me. And I was honestly disappointed at the Google results.
Yeah, today was just it was a bad one, but it's okay. You'll have that. Yesterday, we drank beer by the pool.
Yeah.
Actually, I drank High Rock vodka, and I had a few beers, but we did create something yesterday called Redneck Margarita. Well, I don't know if we created it.
I don't think it was a creation. I think it was
We tried. It was a spinoff of something else.
Yeah.
So, essentially, like I said, we drank by the pool yesterday, smoked some ribs, Big Rob smoked ribs, we ate them. They were really good, by the way. And we decided about 4 or 5 liquor drinks in that we were going to create this
I don't
concoction.
know if that's fair. I only drank like 3 beers.
Well, I drank all day. And this was my idea.
Yeah.
So we were out of Busch Light, but we took a Coors Light and we filled up a glass with probably 60% Coors Light, and then like maybe 20% Diet Sundrop, and then a splash of tequila. And it was a Redneck Margarita. And it was, before you knock it, shit was pretty good, wasn't it?
It was good.
Like, surprisingly.
I didn't think it was going to be god-awful, but it was better than I expected.
It would have been better if we had... We've already been discussing possible...
How to tweak it.
Yeah, possible tweaks to the recipe. Busch Light definitely would have been better than Coors Light, I believe. We also talked about using Sugarland's Rye Apple Moonshine with Busch Light and the Sundrop to make like a kind of like a Busch Apple style margarita, sort of. Either way, it's pretty good. Don't knock it till you try it. If you do try it, tweet at me and then let me know, or Seth, and let us know what you think. But this past Saturday at Hickory Motor Speedway, we found victory lane once again in the limited late model portion of the Bobby Isaac Memorial. Gilbert finally got a win in limited this year. We've been trying to put it in victory lane the past couple of weeks. Finally able to do that. And there was also a lot more that happened at Hickory this weekend. Not surprising,
It's
though.
like being in a time capsule.
Yeah, not surprising, to be honest with you. We will touch on that a little bit. There was a tech scandal. It's an ongoing scandal, I guess you could say. We're going to talk a little bit about what that entails and how we feel about it. I've been instructed to hold back before on how I feel about things, and I will not do that in this podcast. However, it will be civil. So we will get into that, and that's pretty much all that's on the docket. I do have a project that I'd like to tell you guys about and talk about a little bit. There anything else that you did this past week or weekend that is halfway somewhat interesting, Seth?
No, not really.
You went to your hunting land.
Went to my hunting land Friday, did a little work. Nothing exciting.
Bush hog.
Oh, hell yeah, I bush hog with my John Deere lawnmower. That shit didn't work good.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they're designed for that.
It did the grass fine, but the weeds, it just knocked them down, but wouldn't cut them once they were down. So Dad was walking around with a manual slinging the hell out of it, and I was having no part of that.
We run out any bunny rabbits or vermins?
Not that I saw. I was looking for rattlers, and thank God I didn't see none.
Yeah, I don't like a new snake now.
No, we left our grill down there last year, so I had the cover on it, and we needed to move it so I could do some bush hogging. I was scared shitless when we moved it, I ain't gonna lie.
Well, everybody says snakes ain't gonna hurt you, or black snakes are good for stuff. Listen, I don't care if it's a black snake, a red snake, a copperhead, an orange snake, big snake, little snake. I don't like them.
No, and if I see it across the way, I'm fine. I ain't gonna go over and play with it. But if it catches me off guard, I'm going to shit myself.
Every
Every time.
And then I'm going to chop its head off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Multiple times.
Yeah, so take that for what you want. I mean, you can judge me for it. I don't care. I don't like snakes. Thank you guys for clicking on this episode. We're going to go ahead and hop right into episode 21 of Huffman Racing Radio. Another solid week for Huffman Racing. We finished 4th unofficially in the late model stock portion of the Bobby Isaac Memorial. We led about half the race in our High Rock Vodka Oldsmobile, jumped out front, and everybody thinks that I burned my tires off, but that's just not the case. I mean, we've been a 3rd to 4th place car just about every week, it seems, here lately, even though we did find victory lane a couple weeks back. That was just circumstances, and we were the best car at the end, but we qualified 3rd and got out front early, and we were setting the pace. I mean, Dad was feeding me times to what the cars that I felt like were going to be really good at the end of the race were running, and I was just trying to match those times. And thinking back on it, it really wasn't going to make a difference. So I should have just got out front and went like hell and seen how far.
Went like hell and tried to get away.
Yeah, seen how far out front we could get before they started running us back down. I kind of had a feeling we would go green, and by God, it went green. 150 laps straight, green flag racing. So that's the first time in my life that's ever happened. The closest to that would have probably been the Jack Ingram this year, which was 111 straight laps. We finished 7th in that.
There wasn't even a caution in Ingram?
No, 111 straight laps.
Well, how many cars do we have?
There was 14 cars, and then there were 3 starting parks.
Okay, and out of all those cars, I felt like they were all tame. That's why we were able to go 150 green flag laps.
Yeah, we really didn't have anybody crazy. So we ended up finishing 4th unofficially. Don't know what's going to come of that. Probably nothing, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But what we did do is win the Bobby Isaac Memorial Limited portion, which was 50 laps. We put Gilbert in victory lane. Fun fact, the very first race I ever won in my entire stock car career was the Bobby Isaac Memorial Limited Late Model 50-lap feature at Hickory Motor Speedway in 2011 in Gilbert.
Yep.
The same damn car that we just won the same exact race in, what is that, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. 12 years in the future, and we win the same race. So that was pretty cool. I wanted to get that done, and if you've been following along, we've been close with Gilbert in Limited. We just haven't been able to finish the job. So
Gilbert's an old dog.
It is. It's an old dog, and still making shit happen.
Yeah.
You know?
He's wore out. It's tougher than it used to be. But
it's going to need a rear clip this year. But I still have faith in that car. I think that we could go take that car and have a shot at winning any limited race we run, really. I think we could take it. I mean, we ran good with it in late model at Tri-County this year, too.
Yeah.
So, that was cool to finally be back in victory lane with it, and we got to get our picture made. That's always fun. Getting to add another banner in the shop.
Ain't nothing wrong with a minor league win.
Nope. Hang that baby up. Hey, the beer is just as cold after the fact.
But now, you always told me, I often question, are we going to celebrate a limited win? Because, it's not as big as a late model win. You're like, hell yeah, you never know when you're going to win again. So, you win.
I
we're
get
getting
out.
ready to celebrate, and Landon's like, don't soak me with water. I don't want a soggy ass for the late model race.
Well, I think that's fair. I mean, I still got out and yelled, and I was still excited.
It's fair.
I just didn't want to. I mean, I know how we celebrate when we throw water, and it's not typically like on the smaller volume side. It's usually everything we have in our cooler.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, but we needed to have something to drink. I did after the late model race. Plus, I didn't want to have a soggy ass because I knew I would have had it would have looked like I shit myself when I went to get in the late model because I would have had saggy butt because my suit would have been soaked. So, yeah, I still got out and I yelled and, we still did our woo in victory lane and got to take
another
pictures.
One of them lemonades, too. God, that sumbitch slapped.
Got a victory lane lemonade. Shout out to that lemonade guy.
Yeah, he's on it. As soon as you get out of the car, he is right there with that lemonade.
Yeah. Before I even get to kiss my wife.
Yeah.
Lemonade right in your face.
That's good.
And then y'all drank all of it, and all I got was a watered down version.
I mean, it was a hot day.
So now I guess we can talk about the other half of the weekend, and
let's talk about the practice mishaps. The races might have been tame, but practice was far from it.
Yeah, they destroyed 2 limited cars in practice.
Street stock lost the drive shaft.
Oh, damn, I forgot about that. Yes, the drive shaft went through his floor pan.
And he said it hit him in the elbow.
Which is totally
He's had a rough
safe.
couple of weeks.
Totally safe, if you ask me. Yeah, poor DJ Littlecamp, they've struggled this year on the luck side, no doubt about that. They've had about every mechanical mishap possible, plus smoking the fence.
Yeah.
Which was a cut tire, I believe, or something. Something happened when they made contact. Either way, he hit the wall harder than any street stock I've ever seen.
Honestly, I think it just
or maybe
shot
it
him straight in. I think it just shot him straight in there.
Yeah. Yeah, his drive shaft was it broke in half. So one part of it went through the floorboard, the other part was laying on the racetrack. So then that happened, and then the limited car, we had one come down the front stretch, and where the drive shaft connects to the universal joint in the rear end, like the actual universal joint in the rear end, the section that sticks out on the quick change where the universal joint's attached to actually broke off. And when it broke off, the gear shaft that's hooked to that universal joint that goes all the way through the back of the quick change, the whole thing got pulled out. So oil went everywhere, drive shaft flew out of it, he backed it hard into the wall, and then another car come down the front stretch, ain't slowed down yet, hit the oil, and totally just creamed him.
I mean, it was big.
So we got one lap in the second limited practice, and we went top of the board.
And
then we come down, and somebody else ended up going faster than us, I think. But,
I don't know. Limited qualifying, stuffed one.
Yep, crashed one in limited qualifying.
Across the start-finish line and still out-qualified half the field.
I'll give it to him. He drove through it. He just drove her straight in the inside wall. We qualified on the pole in the limited race, by the way. I didn't mention that. That's
first
the
pole all year.
First pole award that I've had since the championship night 2021. I sat on the pole in Jason's car 2021, and then I had a tire go down leading. And then we got one provisional pole last year because it rained.
Yep.
I didn't get a plaque for that.
No plaque. No recognition. No points. Nothing. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So we did get a pole. That was pretty cool. And the plaque was cool. It had Bobby Isaac on it, which was neat. I didn't sit on the pole when I won that race back in 2011, so at least I've got that now.
I think we qualified about third for that one, right?
I think it was outside pole.
Second or third is what I was thinking.
And we led a good bit of the race, most of the race. We took the lead like on the first lap, I think, on the top. I'll have to go back and watch that race. But we slid coming across the line in that one, too. Got ran over coming to the checker.
And that's where it all began.
Yep, that's where everything began. So I guess that catapults me into what I was about to talk about just a minute ago, which is the second half of the night and kind of where everything sort of went south in this whole tech scandal deal. If you're not familiar...
And to be clear, we weren't involved in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, we weren't involved.
We're just the seasoned vets.
The only way that... Well, I guess it will affect us based off of finishing order and purse money, but we're not in the championship anymore at this point because I missed the race for Wake County, so I guess this really doesn't... there's no implications for us other than... I don't totally lose my ass. I only lose like a quarter of my butt cheek for purse money. So, essentially, Cade Brown won the late model race, the 150-lap Bobby Isaac Memorial, and Tyler Matthews finished second. Michael Bumgarner was third. We were fourth. Bummy and Tyler Matthews are still competing with Cade for the track championship. Now, Cade's been fast all year. There's been many times this year where we felt like, and it's not just us, but the competitors have felt like the 23 had some specific advantage. Now, if you're not familiar, the track promoter at Hickory, his son owns the 23 car. So it is the track promoter's son's car, and it's a rental car. And Cade Brown is renting it for the duration of this season at Hickory. And so that we had an issue with the 23 being thrown out at Florence for having an underpan, which was basically the entire underbody of the car was panned out, kind of like a next-gen cup car, more or less. Basically all aero pan. And I know for a fact that they had that at Hickory for who knows how long, which we have been complaining about aero all year.
Yeah, and, I used to think, aero don't matter at Hickory. But talking to you, talking to other drivers, and they'll tell you with the new body that the air and aero does matter.
I mean, we're going 100 miles an hour, so it's going to matter. There's a reason why Kevin Harvick Incorporated's taking their late model to the wind tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. Huffman Racing is not, by the way.
Yeah, by the way.
We set a fan up while we're working, but that don't tell us a whole lot.
Set a fan up and throw dirt on our car and see what happens. So that was the first issue, was the underpan deal. And then once he got tossed at Florence, it forced Hickory to have to, I guess, quote-unquote, regulate it.
The very first issue was the diffuser under the fuel cell.
Yes, that's also true, which that falls into the aero as well. But the 23 car at the very beginning of the year had a rear diffuser, basically aluminum pieces that they had made into a rear diffuser that hung down off of his fuel cell, and he qualified with it, set on the pole, but was told before qualifying that it was not right. And then they tried to put him in the rear, I believe, and instead they just started on the pole anyway. I'm not sure what the conversation was at that point, but that kind of kick-started everything, and then it was just this slow spiral of back and forth between the 23 car, Matt Piercy, which is the owner, and then all the other competitors at Hickory. And, you know, it's been chaotic the whole time. And then it kind of all, I guess, culminated this weekend with the 23 winning again, and the 15 car of Tyler Matthews tried to protest the 23 and was told that he could not protest on that specific rule or part. Maybe the track tech doesn't deem that is a advantage or disadvantage. I don't know why they would be told not to.
I think if it's in the rule book, you should be able to protest it. We're either going by the NASCAR rule book or we're not.
Which we'll get to that here in just a second. But anyways, they were told they couldn't protest that specific part, which I guess that's neither here nor there. So they get into regular tech, and the Hickory Tech officials decided to check offset in the spindles. So they made the top three take their spindles off, and they measured them. And second and third place both had the correct spindles, and they passed based off of the rule and the measurement, and the 23 car had offset spindles. Now, I don't know what exactly happened after they were deemed offset, other than the tech official did tell the 23 car that his spindle was not correct based off of the rule in which he was showing him the rule. After that, we left because I was ready to go drink beer, and we went to Pockets and had a few beers after that. So I was not present to see what exactly happened. I believe that the track gave them back their spindle, I'm going to guess, because I'm sure the argument was we have to put our car back together. So they received the spindle back, and now we are in a waiting period, and the track is saying that it has to be under review. So essentially, no one knows who won the race, other than we know the tech officials said that their spindles were wrong in tech. Now, whether that gets overruled, I don't know, but we're now in this situation where the track hasn't posted anything, and this is Tuesday, so they may post something by this evening or by tomorrow, and they may very well throw the 23 out. I don't know that. They very well may. But I have a feeling that they are not going to. And if they don't, it's going to cause a giant uproar in a lot of different areas. And like I said, this doesn't directly affect us anymore. It would have, but it doesn't because we're not in the points. However, this has been an ongoing problem all year. And I also want to make this clear that, you know, when we talk about these things, I don't want to take away from the fact that Cade Brown has won however many races this year. I think Cade is a really good kid. I think that he's improved a lot this year. He races me clean. I mean, he hasn't roughed us up, really. I've tried to return the favor and race him as good as I can. I mean, I've had great conversation with Cade, and I think that he's got a lot of talent. I think he has the ability to win these races. I think the problem lies with, you know, the integrity of our rule book. What are we racing against every week, and what are we enforcing Plus, whether they're right or wrong, there's still the underlying issue that we have a track promoter's son with a car at the racetrack, in which the track promoter also has a hand in that car.
Yeah.
Working on it and overseeing it. I mean, this is a family operation. We had to deal with this in 2015.
Yep.
So without
it's not new to us.
No, this is not new to us at all. In 2015, I raced for the track championship at Hickory, and the track promoter's son was driving then. Matt was racing. And so Kevin owned the car and promoted the track, and then I raced against Matt, his son, for the championship. And there was a lot of stuff that went down that a lot of people did not like, and it was somewhat shady, and a lot of stuff that we tried to take to NASCAR. NASCAR basically said our hands are tied because it's at the track's discretion, and we ended up losing the championship by only a couple of points. That's really all I'm going to talk about that, because that's not what we're here to talk about this time. The real, takeaway from this should be, right now, we are in such a scattered mess with rules, and Hickory just decides on the fly what rules they want to abide by or what rules they don't want to abide by. For instance, the tire rule earlier this year, where they just make an addendum up afterwards and say that,
they got caught with their pants down enforcing a rule that wasn't a written rule, and it was a debacle. So then they made it a rule after the fact, but that didn't change the initial confusion and what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, and then we've been threatened with fines or possible suspensions for talking negatively about the racetrack, and I also want to make it clear that I love Hickory Motor Speedway. Hickory Motor Speedway is my home track. This is where I've grown up racing. I've won almost all of my races at Hickory Motor Speedway. We've made friends there. My dad grew up there. My grandpa grew up there. I mean, this is in my backyard. I want to see the track succeed. I do. And I have done my best to support Kevin Piercy over the last several years, and I'm not saying that I still don't support the racetrack, because I do. However, this situation that we're in is never going to come out smelling like, the people aren't going to come out smelling like roses. It's always going to be tainted because of the current situation.
And it's hard to keep going back and wanting to support something when you know you're going to race for second, more or less.
Yeah,
because I mean, if something's wrong, you gotta call it wrong, no matter who it is. I guarantee you, if that was our spindle, it would have been thrown out that night.
Exactly. If Tech would have said that the 75 has offset spindles, I am 1,000% positive that they would have said, well, it's illegal and he's tossed.
Right.
Here's an example for you. They wouldn't allow teams to protest Saturday night, but championship night last year, we were protested by a third-place finishing car in the points that tore our motor from the air cleaner to the oil pan all the way to the ground, a 3-hour teardown where we had to take our motor, tear it down in the muddy floor of the tech shed with no engine stand. The engine hoist was horrible. We couldn't hardly get it out of the car. And we were forced to do all of that on championship night, knowing the implications. Now, we were legal. We obviously passed. But that car didn't even finish second. Now you have someone who's second in points, who is protesting the car who won, which he finished second to that night, Saturday night, and they wouldn't allow him to protest that rule. So, I don't know. You take that for what it's worth. I think right now it's just a really, really sticky, sketchy situation at Hickory, and I think that over the year the car count has showed that there's just, there's a lot of skepticism right now with how the track's necessarily being operated. The tech and the officials are understaffed, and it's hard to get people to work and come in there right now. I do feel like Danny, which is the head tech guy, has tried hard to do his best, and he's working to enforce it, but I also feel like he's under a blanket. I don't know that for sure, but it just seems that way. I guess we'll know here after this decision what kind of blanket there is, good or bad.
I don't know that we're going to hear a decision.
And we may not. They may just say that the results are official.
And they may say nothing at all.
Yeah. So
but I don't. That doesn't help.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
you
pretty
gotta
much
say something.
I'm pretty much over it at this point. I love going to the racetrack. I love seeing the fans. I love, bringing new people to the facility, as bad as it may look right now, and introducing people to short track racing. I think I've done a good job at that, at getting people to come out to the racetrack, especially in our local area. And the stands, the stands have been, for the most part, pretty well packed all year. I mean, I wouldn't say packed. I would say they've been occupied this year.
I mean, it's a pretty good crowd Saturday.
Saturday was a good crowd, yes.
And the fair was in town, so.
Yep, yeah, and the county fair was here. So, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty much where if they don't throw the 23 out and they just allow it to slide again based off of the situation, unless there is strong evidence that says that spindle is not offset, because I guess there might be a possibility that it was measured wrong. I don't know how that would happen when two of them measure the same and the other one doesn't, but there is human error.
Yep.
It is possible. Either way, if they don't enforce the rule, then we most likely will not be back for championship night in 2 weeks with our cars, at least.
Oh, I think the biggest issue is who's doing the remeasuring? How is said spindle getting to said review? And who's to say it's even the same spindle?
Right, because the spindle's been given back to
And it's
him.
not like they could have locked it up in the tech shed and said, you ain't getting it till we make it right. Because guess what? The person it belonged to has the key to the tech shed.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's just and like I said, I don't want to take anything away from Cade, because I think Cade's done a great job all year.
Unfortunately, he's just tied to...
He's a byproduct of the situation right
Yeah.
now. Yep. And I think that when you lay that bed, that's where you got to go to sleep at sometimes. I mean, we'll see what happens with it, but hell, I'll probably get a fine for this. I might get suspended for this, so it don't even matter what happens. They might take the win away from the 23, and then I get a message that says I'm not allowed back. I don't know.
You are DQ'd and not coming back.
I hate that it's come to this. I really do, because I felt like the racetrack was on a good trajectory. We still have yet to have any renovations done to the racetrack.
We also got to change how we line up for qualifying.
Yeah.
That shit's going to make my blood pressure go through the roof.
You ain't kidding. I mean,
go to the inside, go to the outside.
it's a cluster.
Bummy and them are on the damn racetrack, and we send a street stock out to qualify. I mean, how damn smart.
And the street stock's got to come off the racetrack.
Yeah, pit road is blocked. The car's got to come off.
Oh,
But,
man. Well, we're open book. If anybody's racing September 17th and you'd like to see Huffman Racing... 16th, sorry. Saturday, September 16th. And if you'd like to see Huffman Racing come your way, let us know on Twitter or Facebook or wherever the hell you would like to, and we'll go from there. But yeah, this is a evolving story. We don't know what the finishing touches are going to be on it. They may make the right decision, they may not, and I guess we'll update you on that. But as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty much all I'm going to say on the topic. I feel like we got our point across, and at least we were able to discuss it, because people are scared to discuss it. And at this point, I know that we have a platform, and I'm really not scared to discuss it at all. Like at this point, I'm over it. I'm really over it. And yeah, that's that. So over the last probably week, I guess really month, but the last week I've gotten more serious about it. I've got a project. It's not an idea. I know how you feel about my ideas.
I mean, sometimes they're good.
It's not an idea.
They just
it's a project.
aggravate the hell out of me.
My project is I have made an effort to try and figure out how many all-time wins Huffman Racing has as a organization in all series combined. It's a pretty tall task because my grandpa raced, My dad raced, obviously, for a number of years. They had a couple of different people drive their cars over the years, and then obviously my racing as well. So it's been a struggle, kind of, to find information, but we do have a lot of the trophies in our shop currently, some of them in better shape than others, and I'd like to eventually get in there and restore as much of them as possible. And I think as we attack the trophy room and get it looking like it should, we'll be able to start going after those trophies and getting them back together. But in my findings, while I've been trying to go over this, right now I'm at around 100 and, what did I say, 114 wins, I think. And there's still a number that I haven't been able to account for that I know are there. So I'm still trying to find documentation on that. But one of the cool stats I did find was my dad won 14 limited races in 1985. 1985.
Just Rob's a badass.
14 at one track.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I mean,
and then he won at Caraway, and he won North Wilkesboro Limited Race that year, which he's won twice. And then I also found out that my grandpa had won 8 races at Hickory in 1980 in their limited late model division at the time. So finding out some cool stuff. Grandpa won at Wilkesboro as well in 1980. It was the first ever limited race that they had there, which I think it was called Street Stock or Super Street or something back then.
Oh, it's hard telling.
But it was the Holly Farms 99.
99.
Yep. So that's pretty cool. But another fun fact that I found is Dad has won, I believe it's 42 or 41 dash races altogether, but 30 some of them I think are in our own equipment. But
tell me it was 37.
37, I think.
Was it 37?
I think 36 or 37.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Either way, the fun fact is Dad won at 24 different racetracks in the Dash Series. 24 freaking tracks. That is insane. But I'm thinking about doing like a podcast segment or series this off season where I kind of break down some of these wins and let my dad come on here with Gutman and my grandpa and kind of do a coordinated series. Kind of not really, I guess, well, inspired by Junior's latest efforts on his podcast with the Becoming Earnhardt series, but not necessarily like that in a storybook format, but more of like a roundtable discussion based off of a series of events during these.
With that group you just named, it's definitely going to be a discussion.
Oh yeah, it will, no doubt. I have no idea where it go, but my goal would be to kind of let them tell the story and me ask some questions, and then it'd be kind of chronological order from episode 1 to episode 8, and it would be something that would air during the off season of Huffman Racing Radio while we're not racing. Something else I'd found in my research, and this is really what I mainly wanted to talk about, is the number of tracks that we have lost since my dad was racing in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, South Carolina short track racing has taken a major hit in the last 20 to 30 years. It was incredible. I mean, just to name a few, which we most recently are losing Greenville-Pickens Speedway, but Hardyville Speedway, Somerville Speedway, Myrtle Beach Speedway, all racetracks that found success in South Carolina and the Low Country are no longer there. Gone completely. Now we have Florence, Dillon,
Anderson,
and maybe not very many more. Very few more.
I can't.
That might be all.
Another one.
Yeah, so, I mean, crazy just to see these racetracks go away. And I was looking up, like, Somerville. Somerville's a badass track. It was high-banked. It was a D-shaped track right near Charleston. So you had, the city there that you could go into and tour or whatever if you were traveling out to the races. But just really sad at seeing how many racetracks we've lost here in the last little bit, really the last 20 to 30 years. And it kind of, I guess, gives you an idea of what the racing world is like in that part of the country, or that part of the region, I guess. I mean, we're suffering the same fate, similar fate here in North Carolina. I mean, we lost Concord Speedway,
yep,
but we've kind of had a resurgence here as of late. So just something interesting I found, and I encourage you guys, if you've never heard of those racetracks, Google them, look them up, check them out on YouTube. Some great racing, and just sad that they are no longer still operating, because I know how much my home track means to me, and if it disappeared, it would be pretty devastating.
One thing, Metrolina. Remember when we went to work at go-kart? Me and Landon used to work together at this go-kart place called the Gauntlet.
Which ended up being a subsidiary of the giant fraud company that was Zloop. If you remember the Zloop Justin Boston situation in NASCAR, Justin Boston owned Gauntlet, and it was in the bottom of the Zloop building, which ended up being like as big of a fraud as the DC Solar deal.
Oh, and so we were his employees.
We didn't do much.
We were tasked with being outside sales representatives, I guess you would say, at some go-kart show.
Metrolina Expo Center.
Yeah, at Metrolina Expo Center, and then we figured out that we were right next door to Metrolina Speedway, and we forfeited our sales rep opportunities to go check out the old Speedway.
Yeah, and
that shit was cool.
This was before it was like torn down. So
I think there's like still portions of the wall and stuff there.
The wall was still there. The grandstands were still there. Remember the entrance sign when you walked in and left?
Yep.
So that sign is actually on Dale Jr.'s property now. It is when you turn on to Dale Jr.'s property, it's like an overhang.
Well, okay. I started to say I don't know where that's at, but
cool.
It's
just like the entrance and exit. Like you turn it, you can go drive through that.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. He's posted it a number of times on his socials and stuff, which is pretty cool. Obviously, Dale Earnhart raced at Metrolina.
Your grandpa won at Metrolina.
My grandpa, J.V. Huffman, won at Metrolina Speedway, which is freaking badass, too. So, but yes, that is true. We got to see Metrolina, which I think it closed in 1998. And when my grandpa won there, it was asphalt. But it was dirt before that. Then it was paved for a portion, and then it went right back to dirt and finished as dirt. We're at that portion of the show where we're going to start wrapping things up. And per normal, every weekly show we've been doing here, we try to read some of these new reviews that we've got here on Apple Podcasts to close out the show. And you guys have been getting them in, man. Thank you guys for all the 5-star ratings, both on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And those of you that have left a text review, really appreciate it. We're going to read a few of those. This one coming from Sports Watcher 2.0 says, Huffman and his merry band of misfits. He said, in my opinion, there's nothing better than late model racing. As a huge fan in Washington State, pretty damn cool, by the way.
That's a long way.
That's a long ways from here. I don't get to see many late model races in person, nor talk to others who share a similar passion. Following Landon Huffman and his merry band of misfits has been a dream come true for someone who loves all things short track racing. Keep up the good work. And then he said, every time I see an abandoned car on the road, I think of RJ. If you don't get that reference, you have to listen to a previous podcast. But thank you, Sports Watcher. I really appreciate that. That is some kind words, man. I think that's cool, especially this past weekend at Hickory, we had a guy drive all the way from Massachusetts.
I forgot to tell you.
And came to Pockets and Brews and drank with us.
Yes, that was cool. Had some guys from Virginia as well.
Yes, and people from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But keep going.
I also signed an autograph in Victory Lane.
You signed an autograph.
I did. The guy that had the sheet metal that everybody else signed in the stands came back down.
Got your auto on it.
Got
Very
the
nice.
autos in.
Very nice. That is cool. He gave me which it's right there. Here, go grab that thing, Seth. Let's show it to the
picture.
Yeah, we'll show it to the YouTube people here. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, we do share this live, or not live. We share this on YouTube, the Huffman Racing YouTube channel. If you just type in Huffman Racing, it'll pop it up. But we actually show the video version of this podcast over on the YouTube channel. But
do you think people would watch a live show if we did one?
It's possible. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments if you would watch a live show if we did one of these live, maybe like a little bit different structure or something. And then I guess if you're listening to it and you'd watch a live show, I don't know, go to the YouTube and comment. But check this out. For those of you watching on YouTube, he drew this and gave it to me, which was really badass. So we're going to get that hung up here in the podcast studio.
Yeah, that's way more talent than I have. That's for damn sure.
Me too. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So we'll read one more review here before we wrap things up. That is, this comes from Eek82 and says, great insight into local short track racing. That's the title, and it says, a 5-star review with great insights into local and regional short track racing. Landon and his crew always make you laugh multiple times each episode. More poetry with Seth and more smoke breaks with RJ, please. Always look forward to these episodes popping up on my Up Next feed. So I guess you're going to have to write another poem, Seth. Going to have to get that thanking cap going.
Getting hard to come by. I'm going to have to, when we have drinking days, get a notepad out and
start jotting stuff down.
Yeah.
You're going to have to.
You're going to have to. You're going to probably have to put
because I am no poet.
M for mature on our podcast listing, but
I'm no poet, so we'll leave that to Seth. If you're watching and you're still you've made it this far through the video on YouTube, the hat that Seth is wearing is going to be a at-track exclusive Huffman Racing snapback. It's not a trucker hat. It's more like a 90s baseball cap. It is a snapback, but it's more like a wool type material, which is really nice. Literally looks like the 90s baseball caps. And then we might have some Huffman Racing Radio hats available soon as well. But I believe that's going to do it for this episode of Huffman Racing Radio. You got anything else to add, Seth?
Well, if he thinks this is funny or the vlogs are funny, the parts that we show.
Yeah, parts we can show.
Yeah, parts we can show. You definitely need about 4 packs of Fruit of the Looms if you were around us enough.
Yeah,
because
no doubt.
A lot of the most funny things don't get aired.
Yeah, which is there's reasons for that sometimes, but we do have a good time no matter what. We always do. And this episode was fun. So thank you guys for listening. Per normal, remember, if you haven't dropped us a review and you'd like to, make sure you go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and give us a rating. And I believe that's going to do it for episode 21. This weekend, I will be at New River Valley All-American Goodyear All-American Coastal Plains
Speedway
Raceway Speedway for the Cars Tour event. So if you're out in the Jacksonville, North Carolina area and you want to watch some racing, come on out to that racetrack that I just mentioned. And we'll have some merchandise available. And I'll be driving the Autos by Nelson number 22 car there. And then I guess we'll just have to see what happens for next weekend at Championship Night. We'll talk to you guys between now and then, recording next Tuesday.
We have another Tuesday, yep.
Yep. So we'll do that when the time comes. But thank you guys so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.